Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the weekly wildcard draft for GW16, where I try to select what I think is the best squad to have in Fantasy Premier League going forward in the next few game weeks. So I'm going to pretend that I have a wildcard and do what I would have done if I had a wildcard this week and select the 15 best players currently in FPL, or at least the 16 best players that fit in the current squad system and structure that I have with the money that I have available, if that makes sense. So the first player that I'm going to present to you guys is going to be the player that I think is the most important player to have currently in FPL. And then the 15th player in the squad is going to be the player that has the least importance in the squad, basically. Someone that I just picked as the final pick. Sometimes it's because of monetary issues, because I don't have enough cash to have anyone else. And other times it's because it's a player that I'm really unsure about having for the price that he is, basically. So yeah, let's get into the video and the number one pick, which again, it's going to be Mo Salah. Didn't play last game week because the game against Everton got postponed because of the weather. That caused a lot of ripple effects that I will talk about more in the team selection video later this week on Friday. But Salah is still obviously a fantastic player. If you need to be reminded, just go into FPL right now, click on Mo Salah, click on more information, and just check out the scores from his past few game weeks. And yeah, I think that's going to be probably the best case I can make for him as your captain. He's just so consistent. He is such a safe captaincy choice. I'm going to pick him as a captain this game week, which is probably going to be a downside to Salah because my captaincy choices the last few game weeks has been pretty bad ever since I started picking Palmer over Salah as captaincy choice back in game week 11, game week 12, I don't know. But I picked Palmer when he got a blank against Leicester, and then I picked Salah when he got outscored by Palmer. Then I picked Palmer again when Salah outscored him the following week, and then this past game week I didn't pick Palmer when he got 18 points. So yeah, my captaincy picks are terrible, and I'm going to pick Salah as captain, but I still think he is the best captain despite that. But anyways, that was very convoluted and doesn't really matter that much because I don't really believe in captain jinxes that much anyway. But I think Salah's the best captaincy choice this week, and I think he's just the best player to have in FPL in general because he has been so consistent. He's been absolutely on fire, looking like the best possible player to have for the foreseeable future in FPL, especially now that he is going to have a double game week as well. If you have your triple captaincy chip left, or with the new mystery chip that has been announced that I'm going to talk about more in the team section video tomorrow on Friday, yeah, if you have all the chips left, basically you have another advantage in having Salah because he's going to have a double game week and he's going to be a huge player to have for that game week. We still don't know when that's going to happen. Most likely it's going to be a game week 25, I think, if Liverpool go into the final in the League Cup, which I think is pretty likely as well. And that would mean a really, really good double game week against Leicester and Everton, I think, for Salah. So yeah, he's just a really, really good player in general, has really good fixtures. He's in the best form of his life. He's always been a consistent, fantastic FPL option. So there's really no reason to go without Salah. So that's why he's number one. Number two, Palmer as well. He's also in fantastic form. Obviously got 18 points last time around, got 2 penalties. I said last weekly wildcard draft video that he hasn't gotten a single penalty so far this season, and that's going to happen at some point. He's going to get a penalty or two, and that's what happened in the same game this past game week where he scored 18 points and was absolutely amazing. Plays Brentford at home now, which is a terrific fixture. I don't blame anyone if they're going with him as captain. I would probably do that myself if I wasn't burned by him in the past, Palmer, when I captained him against Leicester and Southampton. But still, he has proven in the past that he can score a bunch of points in those types of games as well. So yeah, not only the Brentford fixture, after that he has really good fixtures in general. Everton and Fulham might not be as easy as I've made them out to be in this graphic, basically, because those are two pretty good defensively minded teams, or at least they're pretty good defensively minded. If you think about defense, but yeah, so like not the ideal fixtures, but really, really good fixtures across the board. And then Ipswich obviously after that as well, and several other good fixtures to follow after that. So Palmer, again, pretty simple choice to have. There's a template midfield forming now with Salah, Palmer, and a further third player in the squad who's going to be featured in this draft as well, but he's going to come out a bit later than he did this past game week, because the number 3 pick this time around is going to be Alexander Isak. He is in the form that we all expected him to be at the start of the season when everyone had him basically for his price. We all thought he was underpriced, and I think we're being proven right now because yeah, Newcastle are just or not Newcastle, but Isak is just fantastic and is the starting striker for Newcastle. Callum Wilson is also injured out for 2 months. He's not going to go into the side and take penalties away from Isak either. He has tremendous fixtures, especially in the immediate term, with Leicester at home and Ipswich away in the next 2. Aston Villa at home should also be a decent fixture, especially seeing as both Aston Villa and Newcastle tend to have pretty high scoring games in the Premier League currently. So yeah, Isak for the longest time as well. I think for quite a while he has really good fixtures. He is a really, really good underpriced striker this season, in my opinion. And he's just a really nice player to have, especially seeing as he is on penalties. He's been really close to scoring even more points the last few game weeks. Has had some pretty big chances that he has missed, or like hasn't really converted at least. So I think Isak has a lot of good things to come, and I'm looking to buy him myself this game week personally as well, because I think he is the best forward to have in the game currently. So yeah, he goes in at number 3. Number 4, I did mention triple up in midfield and premium midfielders. That's pretty popular right now. Salah, Palmer, and Saka, who I have currently, or who's the number 4th pick here. I don't have him currently in my own team, which is kind of a problem, and I'm going to struggle to get him in as well. But yeah, he's a really good player. Despite blanking the last 2 game weeks, he is still a really lethal points getter in FPL. We saw just now in the Champions League, he played 90 minutes, which is not ideal, but he scored 2 goals, or potentially even scored 3 goals, because the final goal was basically a shot from him that got deflected into the net by a defender, I think. Havertz got credited with the goal at first. I'm not sure if Havertz touched the ball, but either way, Saka would have had an assist for that goal, or at least, or potentially even a hat-trick. So that just proves how good Saka could potentially be as well. So he has tremendous value, has really good fixtures, obviously. Everton and Crystal Palace are 2 teams that are getting better and better defensively, so it's not quite as easy as you might expect potentially. There's still really good matches where you expect Arsenal to beat them quite handedly. And then they have Ipswich at home, which is another really good game week for Saka, where he is a potential captaincy pick if it wasn't for Salah playing at home to Leicester that same game week. So yeah, Saka, tremendous fixtures over the long haul as well. They have some tougher-ish fixtures after that against the likes of Brentford, Brighton, Spurs, and teams like that. But I still think those are teams that Arsenal could easily score against. Those teams are pretty good offensively minded teams, but defensively, they're not that good. And Saka should be a really good player to have for those fixtures. So yeah, Saka is a pretty simple pick at number 4 as well. Number 5, we have Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's new since last time. Just really good fixtures coming up. He has proven in this season, or Liverpool have proven this season, that they are really good defensively, which is the most important thing for a defender. And we also know how good Trent can be offensively. He's sort of been underperforming in terms of the assists that he's had so far this season, even though he had 2 assists in the past game that he played, where he came on with 30 minutes to go, and he had 2 assists in that game basically. So yeah, I think the assists and potentially some goals will come this season, and the clean sheets will still be there. So he's going to get a lot of points and probably going to be the highest scoring defender from this point on in the season, all the way up until the end of the season. So yeah, Trent is going to be a really explosive pick. He is quite expensive, which is the one downside to him. That's why I might actually, or maybe I should have had him ranked lower down, but I still think he is definitely worth the price, even though you have to make some cost-cutting moves for the rest of the squad, as you'll see eventually with this wildcard draft. So yeah, Trent, fantastic player. The good fixtures are coming as well. Fulham at home is a decent fixture. Spurs away, not the best, but after that, Leicester at home, which is fantastic. West Ham away as well, which is also really good for Liverpool, who can keep a clean sheet against basically anyone, and Trent can get an assist against basically anyone as well. So he's a really good pick. I had him for a long time at the start of the season. Didn't really pay dividends back then, but I think he is someone that you should really target currently, especially if you have the money to spare in the bank. He should be someone that you could look to bring into your team as well, even if you're not on a wildcard. So yeah, Trent comes in at number 5. Number 6, we have João Pedro, and yes, he has been sort of disappointing the last few game weeks. Didn't really do much last in game week 15. The game week before that, he only got an assist. So since he had that double or 2 game weeks in a row where he had like double-digit scores and he got a lot of hype, the hype has sort of died down around him. But I still think with the fixtures that he has, which are really, really good for a long time, the price that he is, the penalty taking that he can do for Brighton as well, I think it's just too good value to pass up currently. So I still think, regardless of him not performing as well as you expect him to, I still think he's a fantastic player to have, especially for the price. You should just lower your expectations a little bit and don't expect like 6 to 10 points every single game week, because that's not what's going to happen with João Pedro and Brighton. But they are still a really good team. João Pedro is still a really good player, and I think he's going to get you a lot of points as well eventually this season if you just keep faith in him. So yeah, João Pedro is still a pretty easy pick at number 6, even though the hype around him is starting to die down a little bit. But I think he is going to be a pretty good pick overall. Because yeah, there's a reason why he's that sort of price. It's because he plays for a team that isn't quite as I don't know, dominant as the other like big six type of sides. So yeah, he is cut price for a reason, and he is the best player around that price in general in FPL, I think. So yeah, he comes in at number 6. Number 7, we have Jurrien Timber from Arsenal. He was he's had some injury problems this past week, so there was some doubts about him potentially playing this upcoming game week. But I think now that he came on and played like 30 minutes in the Champions League without getting any more issues with injuries and stuff, I think he's going to be ready to play for Arsenal this coming game week. Arsenal have really good fixtures, and their defense is the best in the league, I think. Maybe close call between them and Liverpool, but yeah, I think Timber has both good attacking potential in terms of both set piece potential goals and when it comes to open play, and also playing for a really good defense in Arsenal makes him just a really good pick for 5.7 million as well, which is a bit cheaper than some of the other defenders that you can get in that same price bracket. So yeah, I think Timber's going to play against Everton. I think he's going to be playing for the foreseeable future as well. First as a right back with the absence of Ben White, and then once Ben White comes back into the side, I still think he's going to play most matches on the left back side as well. So yeah, I think Timber is a really solid pick. He's also someone that is fit to play, which is something you can't really say about Gabriel, who we're going to get to eventually in this video as well. And he's also cheaper than Saliba, and I think he has actually more goal threat than Saliba. I know Saliba scored a couple goals the last few game weeks, but one of them was just him getting hit in the ass by the ball, and the other one was where the ball just fell down to him. It's not like he like purposely it's not like he forced the goals like we see with Gabriel Magalhaes, who just scores and you sort of have to admit that he earned the goal because yeah, he's just that dominant in the air. So I think Timber is just a better pick than Saliba, so that's why he's picked over Saliba in this squad, and we'll get to Gabriel eventually as well in this draft video. Number 8, we have Daniel Muñoz from Crystal Palace. Again, a pretty popular Game Week 1 selection. A lot of people had a lot of faith in Crystal Palace going into the season. They struggled a lot to adjust to life without Michael Olise at the start of the season, but it seems like they're starting to figure things out under Oliver Glasner, who's obviously a really good manager as well. So I think in the immediate fixtures, Muñoz is not that good. Brighton away is tough. Arsenal at home is also obviously tough. Bournemouth away is also really tough. Those 3 fixtures aren't the best. You could start him against Brighton and Bournemouth and get some points potentially, because he is really good offensively the last few game weeks. He's gotten a lot of goals and goal involvements the last few game weeks, and potential goals as well. He missed a really big chance previously in one of the other game weeks. So I think he has a really good attacking potential as well. He doesn't have the best immediate fixtures, but long term, I think his fixtures are really, really good, especially starting from that match against Southampton onwards in Game Week 19. He has really, really good fixtures. So this is more like a long-term play with Muñoz. He's going to be someone that you want to have in your squad for quite a long time. So I think he's just a really solid pick to have in defense that you can just stash on the bench for now and then use when you need him eventually this season. So yeah, he goes in at number 9. And again, I don't think if you're not on Wildcard, I don't think this is like the week to jump on Muñoz. I think he can wait until that game against Southampton. But if I was on a Wildcard, I would just select him now, so I'd save myself that transfer in the future, and I can use someone else in the meantime in defense. So yeah, Muñoz comes in at number 9. Number 10, or number 8, I mean. Number 9, we have Enzo Fernandez, who is a pretty popular pick currently in FPL for good reason. And I could try to, or you could say that I'm jumping on the bandwagon, I guess, but at the same time, I did select him in my free hit team for this past game week. He did come on off the bench because Salah didn't play, and they did get 9 points in that game, because I have seen the last few game weeks, I have noticed while watching Chelsea, because I do watch Chelsea quite a bit with Palmer as my captain for quite a few of these past game weeks. I have seen Enzo creeping up in those positions where Palmer usually is, and getting a lot of goal involvements and being in really dangerous positions. So something has happened with Chelsea and their tactics the last few game weeks, and Enzo has definitely been the benefactor of those changes for Chelsea. He's playing really attacking-minded football, and I think he's going to get the license to do that as well with the fixtures that are coming up, which are really, really good for Chelsea. So I think Enzo is a really nice player to have in the Chelsea attack. If you want to double up or potentially even triple up a Chelsea attack, I think Enzo is a really nice option at only 5.0, which is his current price in FPL. So yeah, Enzo has a lot of upside. Doesn't really have too much downside either. He's going to play most matches. He's going to be a pretty reliable scorer. And if worse comes to worse and he's getting back to his old role, basically, you can just have him on the bench for a pretty cheap price. So I think he's a pretty simple pick to choose. I'm not completely sold on him long term as like a standout pick, but like I said, there's very little downside to picking him and especially when we need the money elsewhere, he's a really nice enabler to have for that price currently. So yeah, he comes in at number 9. Number 10, we have Evanilson, and I wish that this was another Chelsea player actually, Nicholas Jackson. I was trying to fit him in a way into this team, but I just couldn't because of Trent, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Isak. It's quite an expensive team, and I just don't have enough money in the bank to go from Evanilson to Nicholas Jackson. But Evanilson is not the worst consolation price by any means. He's been really, really good for Bournemouth this season. Has probably been getting less points than he actually deserves, and that could sort of be the same for Bournemouth as well, who create a lot of chances. In general, they are one of the best teams when it comes to expected goals, especially the last few game weeks. So I think Evanilson is going to explode at some point and get some goals, get some braces and stuff, and be a really good player to have. And for the price that he is, I think is a really, really good option. But obviously, there are some other strikers, especially Nicholas Jackson, that I wish I could have had instead. So I'm not completely sold on Evanilson, but I still think he's a really good pick to have. And I think he's been really impressive stepping into that role that Dominic Solanke had for Bournemouth. So yeah, I think this is a decent chance to go for Evanilson and see if he can do something for you the next few game weeks. So yeah, he comes in at number 10. Number 11, we have Gabriel. He's still in the squad, but he's still also injured. He wasn't in the Arsenal squad in the Champions League playing against Monaco. He wasn't even on the bench. So there are a lot of question marks about him being available for the game against Everton at least. But after that, I think Gabriel is just too important not to have on the wildcard as well. I think once he's back, he is the best defender to have in FPL in general because he has that goal threat that he has. And the clean sheet potential that Arsenal have as well is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think you just need Gabriel for the long term. I think, again, if I were to choose a defender to have for the rest of the season, I think he would be the one, even though he might be out for the game against Everton, which is a really nice opportunity to get a clean sheet because Everton don't really score that many goals. So yeah, you could go with a different Arsenal defender there. I'm going to get to him as well, Saliba, eventually in this video. But I think for now, Gabriel is just better long term. He's just a way better set piece threat than any other Arsenal defender, and he plays every single game when he's healthy for Arsenal as well, especially now that he's gotten a bit of a rest as well from the injuries. He's going to be ready to go, and he's going to be able and eager to score more goals as well for Arsenal. So I think it's going to be a really good pick. Might not play immediately, but I think you have some pretty good cover in defense in the meantime. So I think you can still stick with Gabriel and have him in your squad, even though he is potentially injured. We don't really know how long he's injured for either. That's the other part. He's a bit of an uncertainty for that fact. So that's why I have him as number 11. But if it wasn't for the injury issues, he would be a clear number 1 in defense at least, and probably number 3 or number 4 when it comes to the draft, like he was last week when I had him number 4, when I thought he was going to be back sooner than we actually could hope for at least. But yeah, Gabriel at number 11, he's a great pick. And I don't think the injury issues should turn you off him long term in general, unless we get news that tell you that he's out for longer. But by all accounts, he should be back pretty soon at least, if not for the Everton game, maybe for the Crystal Palace game the week after that. So yeah, he comes in at number 11. Number 12, we have Morgan Rogers still. He is still in the draft. He was number 7 last time around. He's dropped all the way down to 12. I'm losing a bit of patience with him, and especially with Enzo being propped up as a pretty good pick now. Amad Diallo being a pretty good pick for the same price. There are other alternatives that you can go with rather than Rogers, but I think just over the course of the season, Rogers has proven he's played every single game so far for Aston Villa. He plays every single game in any competition as well. He played in the Champions League as well. Once again, he just plays every single match for Aston Villa, and he's going to be nailed the whole entire season. He's going to be an attacking player for Aston Villa. He's been in really good positions all season as well. Yeah, Aston Villa are a really good team, especially once they get less Champions League matches mixed in. It's a really tough schedule right now, so that's why Rogers isn't the best in terms of playing him every single week. In the immediate future, he has pretty tough fixtures as well, but I think just long term, he is just someone that I want to have in FPL in general. I have no reason to sell him, and even on the wildcard, I would still keep him currently, even though there is more reasons to go without him currently. But yeah, I think he's still a really good pick, and he comes in at number 11 or number 12 for that reason. Number 13, we have Dan Huijsen. The name is a bit tough for a lot of FPL managers, but he is a pretty cheap defender playing for Bournemouth, who have really good fixtures and are a really good team. So I think he makes sense as the 5th defender who can also step in for Gabriel this game week. If you don't want to go with the more upside with Muñoz in the more tougher match against Brighton, you can go with Huijsen off the bench if Gabriel doesn't play in this match. So I think he is just a solid pick to have in defense. I don't think there's that many good 4.0, 4.1 type of defenders, I think you need to go up to that 4.3 threshold where you have Huijsen, you have Anderson, who's still out injured for Fulham, but once he's back, he's a pretty good option. Once Everton's fixtures get better, Mykolenko's a pretty good option for that price. So I think that's a really good price point to be at, and I don't think the 4.0 price point is that good. You have like Vandenberg, who, Brentford concede every single game. You have Greaves, who doesn't even play for Ipswich now. You have Burgess, who has the same type of problem. He's not even 3.9 anymore. There's not really that many good players at that price. The Woodfage has lost his place for Leicester. So yeah, I think you need to go to that 4.3 defender, and yes, it's not that important. That's why I have Huijsen as number 13, because you can just go with a cheaper defender and just have him on the bench every single game week. But especially for me, the past few game weeks, I've learned to value having 5 decent defenders to have on your bench, because sometimes you need it. This past game week, I played with 10 players because I didn't have enough players on the bench to start for me, and I wish I had someone like Huijsen who could come in and get at least 2 points for me, and potentially more as well, because Bournemouth are a really good team. So yeah, he comes in at number 13. And that leaves just 2 goalkeepers, and that's for good reason, because I don't really have any good goalkeepers to choose from this week, I feel like. So yeah, I'm going to go with Henderson just because he's the cheapest. He also has decent fixtures eventually for Crystal Palace. He's also been one of the better goalkeepers this season. So before the start of the season, I had him in my Game Week 1 squad, or I actually had him in my Game Week 1 squad, all the way up until I wildcarded in Game Week 6 myself. But I think I said back in Game Week 6 as well that changing your goalkeeper, unless it's on wildcard, is just not really that important to do, because I did swap away from Henderson to Sanchez, and now, almost 10 game weeks later, Henderson has actually outscored Sanchez since that time. So yeah, it just proves that the goalkeepers are really tough to gauge. They can get high scores against tougher teams. They can get low scores against weaker teams. Saves is a thing there as well. Like, the ideal goalkeeper is someone that gets a lot of saves and gets a lot of clean sheets, and those two things are kind of going against each other, because if you get a lot of saves, you get a lot of shots at you, and you're more likely to concede. So goalkeepers are just really confusing. I don't think they're that important in general, and I don't think there's that many good choices in the goalkeeper positions currently in FPL. So I just gone with a 4.4 goalkeeper in Henderson, who plays every game, plays for a team that is getting better and better. It's basically just down to price, because I don't really have much money left to make the squad, basically, in general. So yeah, Henderson is the goalkeeper. He is going to get a lot of points, or a decent amount of points at least, for his price. So yeah, I picked him at number 14 for that reason. The backup is, as always, Fabianski, who is the only backup goalkeeper or 4.1 or below goalkeeper who plays currently. Apart from Lumley, I guess, for Southampton, but that's Southampton. You don't want to invest in him either. So yeah, Fabianski is just the best backup goalkeeper, as he has been for, basically since he started playing for West Ham. And I think he's going to continue doing that as well. And Areola is getting close to the same price now, so regardless of which West Ham goalkeeper you have, or like regardless of which West Ham goalkeeper plays, you have someone potentially in West Ham goal that can play at least, or for a pretty cheap price is what I'm trying to get to at least. But yeah, he is the final player in my squad, Fabianski. That's 15 players. You can see a lot of the players, Henderson, Trent, Timber, Muñoz, Huijsen, and Evanilson are all, and Enzo as well, are all green named players, which means they are new since last time around. You can see there's a lot of players missing from the Game Week 15 draft. 7 players in fact. So I'm going to talk about those guys that have dropped out since last time, and then I'm going to end up talking about the 3 players that I was close to, or at least considered picking into or selecting in the team, but didn't for some reason. So yeah, let's first go into the dropped players. With number 8 pick last time around, which was Lewis Hall for Newcastle. I think Newcastle's defense has just looked pretty bad defensively the last few game weeks. I've lost a bit of interest in Hall in general. Yeah, that's basically the main part. I think Newcastle have pretty good fixtures for the long term, especially the immediate fixtures against Leicester and Ipswich, like I mentioned with Isak. So Hall is still a good pick, but I think Muñoz for the long-term future, Huijsen for the better price and for the better defense, it's just worth the money more. And then obviously Hall is not really comparable to Timber, Gabriel, or Trent. But if you want to go with just 2 pretty expensive defenders instead, if you want to drop down, for example, if you want to drop down, if you don't believe in Trent as much and you want to go with a cheaper defender, I think Hall is a perfectly good choice. And then you can pick in Nicholas Jackson as a striker instead. Nicholas Jackson is another player that's dropped out since last time. He was number 9 last time around. Played 75 minutes in a 4-2 win against Spurs, and didn't get a single goal return. So that's also a bit of a worry as well when it comes to Jackson. There's also Nkunku, who's a really good striker who needs to play more minutes at some point this season. Conference League fixtures are going to be running out pretty soon. There's going to be a pretty tight schedule during Christmas, and I think there could be potentially maybe some rotation for Jackson. And on top of that, he has 4 yellow cards still, That will last for another 4 game weeks or so before the account goes up to 10 yellow cards to be suspended. So until he gets a yellow card, there's always going to be that doubt that he's going to miss a game, and you're going to miss a pretty nice match for him as well. So yeah, with all that in consideration and his price, I've decided to go with Evanilson instead this game week, but I still think Nicholas Jackson is a fantastic player to have. There's only like 2 game weeks back, like a week and a half ago, where people sold Isak to bring in Jackson. So that should tell you something about how good Jackson potentially could be, and also just how misjudged Isak was at that time as well, because he had some injury issues and he had some issues apart from that. But yeah, Nicholas Jackson is still a fantastic pick. I still think he's going to play 70 plus minutes most games for Chelsea for what it's worth, but there's just enough doubt and just the price that I need in terms of having Evanilson over him that makes me drop Nicholas Jackson in this team. Then we have Kirkus for Bournemouth. Again, if I had enough money, or if I had enough need, I guess, I would pick him in defense over Huijsen from the same team. But currently, with the defenders that I have, 2 Arsenal defenders and Trent Alexander-Arnold, I feel like Kirkus is just too much in terms of him having good fixtures in the immediate term, being pretty expensive. I think Muñoz is just a better pick for that price. So yeah, he's dropped out as well. Onana's dropped out in goal. Was not really impressed by what I saw from Man United against Nottingham Forest this past game week in terms of the clean sheet potential. I still think Onana is a good goalkeeper, but he's also 5.2, so he's 0.8 more expensive than Henderson. So I don't really have enough money to afford Onana. I still think he's a good goalkeeper if you have the money, but especially now with the new assistant manager chip in mind as well, where you gotta have another 0.5 million or 1.5 million to get a manager as your assistant manager in your budget as well. I think you need to go with cheaper options, especially in the goalkeeper positions, which I said previously is pretty tough to gauge and pretty tough to know what to expect from, basically. So Onana has dropped out. Amad Diallo has also dropped out, and that's basically just down to Enzo looking like a better pick currently, but I can be persuaded into picking Amad Diallo over Rodgers. That's why I'm still a bit hesitant when it comes to Rodgers, but I just have a lot of affinity towards Rodgers, and I think he's going to be a good pick over the course of the season. So I prefer Rodgers at this moment in time, but Amad Diallo is still a fantastic pick who plays most matches now, it seems like, under Amorim. It seems like Amorim really likes him, and he's played really well under Amorim as well, both offensively and defensively. He's done a pretty good job. Amad Diallo, so yeah, I still think he's a good pick, but he has dropped out since last time regardless. And then I realized the graphic is a bit wrong because I have Timber also dropping out. That's not true. Timber is still in the squad, and he's not a new player. So I got to fix that, I guess. I'm going to do that now in the video like that. But anyways, the final player that I've dropped out is Joachim Andersen from Fulham. Again, he's injured, so that's why he sort of had to drop out since last time around. Huijsen comes in for the same price for a similarly decent defense. And yeah, that's basically what it is to the whole thing. So yeah, that's it for the players that have dropped out since last time. Let's take a look at the 3 players that I was close to having in the squad, but that I didn't for some reason. So first of all, we have Jean-Philippe Mateta. Again, the same as with Muñoz. The fixtures aren't the best immediately from Mateta, but I think from Gaming 19, I think he's going to be a really strong consideration as one of my strikers. He's probably going to be my replacement for Matheus Cunha, currently in my own team. Potentially. It could be him, could be Nicholas Jackson, depends a bit what happens in the next few game weeks, but I think Mateta has proven now that he's the striker to go for at Crystal Palace. Nketiah is not really playing that much anymore. Mateta is the lone striker for Palace, and I think once they get better fixtures, once they get more confidence in themselves, they can have a sort of similar rise as they had last season when they had a really good end to the season under Glasner. I think that can happen again with Mateta. I think he looked like a really good striker both for Palace and for France during the Olympics. I think he's going to be a really good player to have. So I think he's someone to definitely consider as well. Then I wanted to mention Chris Wood, who I think has been sold from a lot of teams, and I think there's not really that much reason to. I think Palace's or Forest's fixtures are still okay. They're still pretty decent. Wood has been consistent all season. He's a penalty taker. He is just a really good striker in general, especially now under Nuno Espirito Santo. He's just really found himself. So I don't think there's any reason to sell Wood, and I think there's more reasons to actually potentially look into buying him at some point because of his price as well. Which is pretty good compared to the likes of Nicholas Jackson, for example. So yeah, he's definitely someone that I would consider on a wildcard. Could potentially wildcard him in eventually. I think Nottingham Forest still have some tougher fixtures ahead, so maybe not the immediate player you want to have in your squad, but I think it's someone you could definitely consider to have or buy in eventually. And if you have him already, I don't think there's any reason to sell him because he just proves time and time again that he can score against anyone, like he did against Manchester United last time around. So I think he's a solid player to have currently. And then finally, Saliba, like I mentioned with Gabriel, we don't really know the extent of his injuries. If Gabriel is out for longer, Saliba is definitely someone you can plug in instead of him. He's not quite as much of a goal threat, but he's a more solid player when it comes to avoiding injuries, I guess, as well. Than Gabriel this season. He is less rotation prone if for some reason Arsenal start making substitutions when it comes to their center backs. I think Gabriel is more likely to be subbed off for Calafiori or not start rather than Calafiori, for example, rather than Saliba. So I think Saliba is a decent pick, but I think Gabriel just has higher upside in general. So that's why I'm going with Gabriel as the player. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the drafts. Thank you for watching, as always. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you liked the video. Hope you comment down below if there's anything you like or dislike about the draft, or any other questions you have about your team going forward in FPL. I'd be glad to answer them in the comment section like I usually do. So with all that out of the way, thank you for watching as always. See you next time. Bye bye.